So FoodSEqual has been running since the beginning of 2021, and its focus is on transforming the food system, particularly for those living in disadvantaged communities. The whole philosophy of the project is to do our research with people rather than doing it to people. And this has been really important for us throughout, and it's where our partnerships through the project team have been so important, because it's through organisations like Brighton Hove Food Partnership and the Women's Environmental Network and Food Plymouth and so on. These are the people that really know their residents, and their residents know them, and so there's a good deal of established trust there. So when a bunch of academics rock up wanting to ask about food, you're pushing on a bit more of an open door than if we just tried to go in there cold.
I'm Sarah, and I was a researcher for the FoodSEqual project for the Food Partnership, and I was recruited from my local area in Bevendine and Moulscombe because I was looking after a community garden and quite connected locally around community action on food. And I was really drawn to being involved in this research because I wanted to learn ways that you could measure the impact of small grassroots actions, because I hadn't really noticed that they had a big ripple effect locally, and they're quite hard to kind of capture and celebrate. So I thought that training to be a researcher would help me do that. The thing that really struck us as a researcher team was just how much people cared about food and how open they were to talking about it if given the right opportunity and a place they felt comfortable having a discussion. So if you kind of caught them on the hoof, they might be a bit kind of closed to chatting with you about some of the deeper issues around food, but if you created a space where they felt welcome and that their voices would be heard, that made a big difference. And it was really inspiring to then be able to go back to them and sort of consult them about what we were finding, and then to develop workshops that were based on some of the things that they'd said. So yeah, that kind of progression was really satisfying.
My experience in the food workshops I found was very, very positive. I liked meeting the people. I liked sharing the ideas, batting ideas around. I really, really enjoyed it. The recipe is a chickpea and tomato curry. I brought it to the workshop because the workshop was concentrating on chickpea recipes. And because it was a recipe that I learnt from my sister, I thought that, well, maybe I should bring that along, and that way she's included as well. She passed away a couple of years ago, so it was like keeping her with me. The fact that my recipe might be used to make a meal kit, super proud. I mean, super proud. When I got the recipe meal kit, I took a photograph, sent it to my kids. I was that proud of it. And they were like, yay, well done, Mum. Good on you.
Hi, I'm Sophia. I was a community researcher in the FoodSEqual project. The fact that I was already a member at the Moulscombe Community Market, that put me in a good position. People were already comfortable with me. And then the more I sort of did things like recruiting at the community market, they recognised me as somebody maybe to get information from, or if they wanted to become a participant. So yeah, and then just building on my relationships as well. I know more people in the community. I say hello to more people on the street. So yeah, that's been a really nice pro. Yeah, so we did some different policy workshops, and I sort of remember one of these research methods that we did, which was using different pictures, and I found that to be a really good method to introduce people to sort of these nuanced terms and sort of text-heavy policy work that, policy can be. So I found that interesting, finding different methods to fit something that was quite dense as policy work. But, I think we kept it light. And then from that, we did a few different methods. And from that, we ended up creating a policy brief, which was then published by Sussex University. And then from that brief, we ended up flagging the attention of the Healthy Weight Board of Brighton, and we we presented that to local government. And what I found from that, it was really nice to see that some of the recommendations that we gave were already sort of in line with some of the things that were happening in the city already. So yeah, it was nice to see the connection there that had been built, yeah.
So as a participant, I saw the advert on Facebook and just thought, oh, that looks quite interesting in terms of it was asking about chickpea recipes, which just seemed like an unusual thing to be asked about within the community. The kind of things we've done is the recipe facilitated workshops on the recipe boxes, collecting data around advertising at bus stops. We've been involved in working to design some studies. One of the things that's been quite useful is that I kind of understand what it's like to come from a situation where you're not, you do have to make sure that you're budgeting as well as you can do in terms of food, because the money's not always there. So I kind of have that experience as well as having some experience with research, and I think also my health experiences have kind of given me a unique insight into like some of the extra challenges that people who are either neurodivergent or have chronic health problems have, which has meant that sometimes I've been able to sort of highlight like, oh, that just might not be practical for some people. I think also just being pregnant during part of my community research work, like when we were doing some work around the Healthy Start scheme, because I'd used that scheme, I kind of already knew some of the challenges with it and maybe potential barriers for people to sign up or to even think about the language that people may or may not use. I think quite often there's an assumption that there's either a lack of skills or that there's a sort of a singular problem that can be solved. And I think that actually understanding the multidimensional aspect of food challenges for people when they're experiencing financial difficulty can be it's really helped to kind of put myself in the perspective of participants who might be taking part.
I would really recommend, if anybody was thinking about doing research, to use community researchers and do participatory action research, because you're going to get much deeper insights into a local community, and the trust is already there. And something that we've really found is having that kind of local insight and relationships has helped kind of really deepen the conversations and get much richer information about what's really going on. So the work that I was doing with the Food Partnership as a community researcher has really kind of helped me build skills and confidence around community research. And I have a new role with another charity in the city, the Trust for Developing Communities, doing community research. And so that's really kind of built on the skills I learned with the Food Partnership. So I'm still working with communities and engaging them in lots of different ways and sort of building those skills and working with different sets of academics and local people. And yeah, I feel really passionate about it and feel like it'll continue.
I think the thing I would really, really like to keep going are the community researchers, just seeing how powerful that is of having people from the communities that you're trying to work with, working with you on your team, and bridging that gap between academics, the council, food partnerships, residents and so on, and the food industry. That's something that I think all around at FoodSEqual we are desperate to try and keep going.
People still remember some of the work that I've done, like people that are close to me, and it still impacts their food choices. So yeah, can feel like I've made a bit of a change.
It felt really good to be part of it, the whole experience. The fact that my curry was used for the meal kit sort of gave me validation. I think that if other people were wanting to get involved with the projects, I would encourage them to do so, because it's really, really rewarding. And it's a social thing. You get to know people, you get to swap ideas. I would encourage people to join. Community research helps to bring the communities together.
My hope is that some of the data can be used in a way that improves our food systems within the city, and at least, even if it's not a direct improvement, that actually some of the data collected can be reflected on and inform future research and future planning around what we need to do to make better food systems, and also that hopefully some of the data is just useful to the community. That would be really cool as well.